So good morning, everybody. My name is Dorka Finucane and I'm the owner and founder of Trained In. Trained In is an online marketplace that's designated to training and consultancy services to business to showcase their business and services. The idea of Trained In is that we'll put small, medium, large and freelance business on the same level playing field with equal access to market. Since April, we have run 45 webinars. This will be our number 45 TED Watch. And we have had over 4,000 people attend, which is a fantastic number. Today, we are welcoming Ted Welch from Enable Me Coaching, and we're absolutely dying to hear what makes him tick. But before we start, I just have a few housekeeping rules. So we can't see you and we can't hear you, which a lot of people might be delighted by, having no cameras this early in the morning. Please use the chat facility. So if you have any questions or want to make any observations or comments, please use the chat and I will relay your questions to Ted. He is here for you to pick his brain, so use the time wisely. I know he's going to be asking you a lot of questions during the webinar, and he's going to have some great offers for you as well. So with no further ado, good morning, Mr. Ted Welch from Enable Me Coaching. How are you this morning?
Great. Living the dream as always. Living the dream.
Great. We're absolutely delighted to have you here. But what we all want to know is, before we kick off into your presentation, what makes you tick? How have you got to where you are today, and what is the secret to your success?
Wow. Okay, so what makes me tick? People are my thing. Kind of my background was 33 years in the electronics industry, business manager, people manager, but it was always the kind of people side of things that really kind of floated my boat. Left industry in 2016, focused on what I'm good at, which was the business side of things and the people side of things. So business coaching and career coaching were a natural fit for me. Huge uptick in career coaching since the onset of COVID. Two groups of people really. One group, people have had a little bit of time thinking about their careers, figuring out where they want to go next. And the other group of people, unfortunately, are those who find themselves in a redundancy situation, who have been laid off and looking for the next opportunity. So big demand for career coaching, big demand for CVs.
Yeah, there is. And no better person to actually help people, because you've been there, you've done that, you've been the hiring manager. So not only have you experience in writing CVs, but you're also the person who has been selecting and sifting through all of them. And I've been in that position before, and God, it's I don't know how you do it, but you really need something that jumps off the page to you, and that's easy.
Grabs your attention and your attention. I mean, we'll talk more about this when we get into the presentation, but as a hiring manager, typically it's not your full-time role. You're doing it maybe Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, you want to get home to the kids, you want to do whatever you're doing at the weekend, you've got a pile of CVs in front of you, and you quickly want to scan down through them to select a number of candidates that you're going to look into in more detail when you come in on Monday morning, and then select some from those that you want to take forward for interview. And you really want to CV that meet your criteria. You're looking at, you have your job spec, you have your CV. Okay, right. Maybe. No.
Yeah.
What you don't want is your CV to be in a no pile. So we'll talk about the things that will help you avoid that scenario as we go through this morning.
Yeah, and tell us, I know coaching is another aspect of your business as well. What type of people do you coach, or is it everything? Is it?
So the career coaching, we've spoken about that at the moment, is career transitioners and job seekers. On the business coaching side, it is SME owners up to and individual contributors and managers within SMEs up to multinationals. So
Fantastic.
Broad range of the spectrum.
Amazing.
Great. Another way on that.
Yeah, amazing. And tell me, what do you do on your downtime? Do you have any?
My downtime is, we're kind of entering a nice phase of our lives in that our kids are kind of grown. So it's almost like myself and my wife are dating again. So we're spending a lot of time together, doing a lot of walking during COVID. One of our goals for the summer was to walk the Grand Canal Way from Hazel Hatch near Selbridge out to Tullamore.
Fantastic.
We're doing the Grand Canal Greenway at the moment. A lot of walking. What else can you do at the moment? Not so much.
Yeah.
Too old for the sports. You used to be a sporting guy, but right now, walking, fishing, spending time with herself.
Amazing. I'm sure she's absolutely delighted to have you back so much in her life, all to herself.
Yeah, well, if you might want to ask her that. My opinion is yes.
Great. Right. I suppose with no further ado, let us kick off the presentation. I'll start it here for you, and I'll let you take over. I'm going to turn my camera off, but I will still be here. So everybody, please make use of Ted's time and ask any questions, or I know Ted is going to be asking you some questions along the way. Over to you.
Okay, thanks. Hi everybody, Ted Walsh here, Enabling Coaching. A little bit strange. I'm doing all the talking and I can't see my audience, but we'll do our best. So what I wanted to talk to you about this morning was how to write a CV that will get you an interview. A little bit of background about myself. I think we've probably covered most of it. Business coach, career coach, 33 years in the industry. As Arthur said earlier, I did an awful lot of hiring, so I'm very familiar with the hiring process. I'm a certified career coach, and I've also worked with 2 outplacement firms. So outplacement firms are typically a company that is hired by a company who's doing layoffs to help the people who are in that layoff situation to find the next opportunity. And as part of that role within the outplacement firms, I do career coaching, but I'm also a professional CV writer. So what you're going to see in the next several files is a combination of my experience as a hiring manager, my training as a career coach, my work as a career coach with the outplacement firms. And I tried to distill all that down into a number of slides and give you the information you need to put together a CV that stands out from the crowd. So, huge uptake, as we said, in people seeking career assistance at the moment. If we go back to the pre-COVID, unemployment is about 5.1%. So we're almost at full employment, and it was very much an employees market. So the employee could pretty much, choose which role they wanted, which company they wanted to work for. That has changed with the onset of COVID now. So you're looking at the latest figures yesterday, unemployment was at 16.7%, down from a high 28% in April. But the point being that there's a lot of people out there who are actively looking for work and who need assistance with a CV. And there's kind of 4 steps to putting a CV together. There's a bit of prep work required. So the first step really is getting your head around what an employer is actually looking for. An employer has a problem. They advertise a job on their website or through a recruitment agency or whatever. There's 2 things that an employer is really looking for. Number 1 is, can you do the job? Do you have the skills and competencies to solve my problem? Number 2, will you fit within my organization? So as you're starting to gather the information to build your CV, you need to keep that in mind. Can I solve the employer's problem? Can I give them some indication in my CV that I'm a good fit for their organization? The second piece then of your prep work, I call it getting connected with me. What this is all about really is taking a good look at yourself, understanding what you bring to the world of work. So if you imagine that candidates are like boxes of cornflakes on a supermarket shelf, what would make me stand out? Why would I buy Kellogg's versus another brand? What makes me stand out? We're pretty much the same in terms of what we do, but what's going to make me different? And in this getting connected with me piece, I spend a lot of time in career coaching with this. What are your values? What's important to you? What are your skills? What are your strengths? What sort of work do you like to do? What do you like about work? What do you hate about work? What knowledge do you bring to the table? What are your traits? So there's a lot of time spent in the getting connected with me piece. It give you a sense of, are you a good cultural fit for the organization that you're applying to? And then are you also, do you have the skills and competencies to solve the hiring manager's problem? Step 3 then is all about doing your research and prep work. We now know what the employer is looking for. We now know what we bring to the table. We now need to look at what companies would I like to work in. Am I a good fit based on my values? Would that company be a good fit for me? And so you're figuring out where you'd like to work, who you'd like to work for, what you bring to the table. You're now finally ready on step 4 to start building out your CV. Okay, question to those online. Can you pop into the chat? What do you think the purpose of a CV is? Give you 10, 15 seconds to do that. Sorka, maybe you can help me out here.
Yeah, no problem. I think everybody's a bit shy, so come on, people.
Come on,
What's the
guys.
purpose of a CV? Evelyn has just made a comment there. Sorry, you've jumped a lot from job to job on the CV. Especially, you've been made redundant a few times through no fault of your own. So that's a question on how would you handle that. Just keep that in your mind when you're going through. I suppose. They're all very shy. Does anybody have any questions to what's the purpose of your CV? What does it do for you?
This is the interactive bit, guys.
Yeah. We've got one in to get attention from Donal.
Okay, we give another second or two. Okay. To find out if the applicant is suitable for your workplace and if they have the required skills. Yeah, to some extent, but what I'm thinking of really is your CV is a marketing document. It's marketing you, and its purpose is one thing and one thing only, right? And that's to get you an interview with a prospective employer. That's its job. You will not get hired based on your CV, but hopefully you will get a hiring manager's attention, and you will get an interview. What information do you think your CV should contain? Again, can we pop that into the chat? What should you include in your CV? Tough crowd.
You sure are. Showcase yourself to your company, says Leslie. Oh, that's the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is part of the purpose of the CV. You are showcasing yourself. You're attempting to show the hiring manager that you can solve their problem, and hopefully you will get called for CV. Stephen's telling us the information we should include is your skills, your experience, education, hobbies, and interests.
I'm a slow typer. I love it, Stephen.
Background, employment history, and experience in quals. Yeah, we're on the right track. Okay. So, what your CV should contain. You should have your contact information. It may seem fairly obvious, but you have to have the information there so the employer can get hold of you. You should include the target role. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. So if you're applying for a program manager role, or if you're applying for a customer experience, a customer service, or a retail role, you need to include the job title within the CV. You should have a brief summary or profile in the CV that outlines and gives the hiring manager a quick synopsis of who you are and what you're about. A summary of your key skills. You need to include your work history with impacts. So what can make you different? What can make your CV stand out from all the others? What can make that box of cornflakes stand out from the others is what it actually does, what it has done, what are the accomplishments, what results have you achieved. So that is really, really important. That's critical. Your education to date, and any relevant training that may be applicable to the role that you're applying for. What are the no-nos for a CV? Into the chat again. This is the last time, guys. Any takers? Irrelevant experience and skills. Okay. Too many pages. Now we're getting on the right track. What else?
Do you find, Ted, that people go to write their CV but don't really think about these questions that you're even asking now? They just
yes, I mean, sometimes as a hiring manager, I used to receive CVs and I would look at them and say, why did this person even bother? You know, it's full of typos. It doesn't contain any relevant information. It's almost like they haven't applied for the job at all, and they've just given you something in the hope. It's kind of like throwing out a blank fishing hook or a hook with no bait in it. You know, it just doesn't work. Let's talk about what shouldn't be in the CV then. So your CV, if possible, should have no gaps in employment or education. And I know this may not always be the case, but if you have a gap in your employment or your education, you need to be in a position, this probably goes to the question earlier, you need to be in a position to answer that question from an interview perspective. So one of the first things a hiring manager will do will be scan the timeline from the time this person maybe left school or left university to current date. Where have they worked? What have they done? Are there any gaps? What's going on there? And if you've taken a career break, if you've taken time off to look after a relative, you know, I would include that. You know, career break, time looking after an ill or infirm relative, include that in the CV if there's a gap, because it puts the hiring manager's question to bed and avoids your CV going in the bin too quickly, too early. Don't include any fancy fonts, text boxes, or underlining. A lot of CVs aren't read by human beings first time round. They're read by a piece of software. And the software, particularly in the larger companies, they use what's known as the applicant tracking software. And this software reads your CV and it does kind of a match, a word match to the actual job spec. And we'll talk more about that in the next couple of slides. But applicant tracking software typically cannot read text boxes. So if you have a Word text box containing critical information within your CV and the company you're applying to uses ATS, applicant tracking software, you won't be able to read it. Your CV will not have a high score and you'll get dumped. Don't include any information covered by the terms of the Employment Equality Act. So what does that mean? There are 9 conditions. You can look them up on the web. You can Google them, Employment Equality Act. But there's kind of 9 situations: your race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, age. But anything that might trigger the unconscious bias of a hiring manager, don't include it. You do, for example, you don't need to include your full address on the CV. For example, let's say you know, I'm from Cork originally. There's certain areas of Cork that would be deemed to be less than desirable. You know, all of the hiring manager needs to know is that I'm from Cork. If I was to put in a particular address that might trigger a bias, you know, you don't want somebody putting your CV. All they need to know is roughly where you are. Your CV should not be a manuscript. I had one client last year whose CV was 14 pages long and didn't understand why he wasn't getting called for interview. No hiring manager is going to read anything that is too long. Your CV, 2 pages max. Pictures. The convention within Ireland is we don't use pictures. Within CVs, Ireland and the UK, it's common practice within Europe. And then the question I get a lot from that is, well, you know, somebody can go on and look at my LinkedIn profile. That's fine, but at that point, you've passed the initial screening and they are interested in clicking further and finding out more information. What you want is to make sure that the hiring manager doesn't dump your CV in the bin first time through. You want to get to the maybe pile at least and get a further review. You're still in with a chance at that point. So there's a number of different types of CV that are out there. There's two of them essentially. There's the chronological CV, and this is by far the most common CV. It reflects the candidate's work history going back over time, and it's most commonly used when a candidate is seeking a role in a similar or a related field. The other type of CV is the functional CV, and this is used kind of rarely, but it's used in a situation where a candidate may be changing fields. So, for example, I had a client who was a guard who wanted to change roles. So what we did was we built a CV that focused on his people skills, his ability to communicate, his ability to diffuse difficult situations. It was all about those particular people skills rather than his work history as a guard. The focus of what we're going to look at over the next few slides is on the most common one, which is the chronological CV. So the architecture or the construction of a typical chronological CV is as follows. This is based on my information and my experience. I look for the contact information. I look for the target role. The target role calling out. If the job spec says program manager, you put in program manager as the target role on your CV. This creates a match in the applicant tracking software. You include the summary profile. We'll talk about that, the importance of that in the next slide. You include the skills summary. You include professional experience, your work history. You include your education and training. And you can, depending on whether or not you space, include a hobbies and interests section. And this gives the hiring manager an insight into who you want to fit. So it helps potentially with fit. But I wouldn't do this at the expense of information. I wouldn't include the hobbies and interests at the expense of information in relation to or relevant to professional work or education and training. Guys, if you take anything away from today, this is really critical, this next piece. The CV must be tailored for the job you're applying for. It's not a case of one size fits all. Those days are gone where you did up your CV, you printed off 40 copies, and you handed them out around the town to see who might potentially hire you. It's a much more structured approach now where you're looking to match your CV to the job. Let me show you what I mean. So there's a job spec that comes up, and the job spec will typically say something like the ideal candidate will have A, B, C, and D, where A, B, C, and D are relevant skills or requirements for the job role. When you write the profile section of your CV, if you can legitimately claim that you have A, B, C, and D, right, you include that in the profile section. So now we have a link and we have a match between the job spec and the CV. The hiring manager, if it's a person that reads it, by the way, a hiring manager, if it's a human being that's scanning the CV first time through, typically takes less than a minute. The average apparently is about 30 seconds just to scan your CV to determine whether you're going to the bin or you're going into the CV file. So a lot of people are hearing that.
Yeah, sorry. I'll put myself on mute, sorry.
Okay. I don't know if it's you or it's anywhere else. Okay, so the link here, guys, is absolutely critical between the job spec and the profile section in your CV. Now, the next thing to remember is if you're going to claim you have A, B, C, and D in the profile section of your CV, you need to demonstrate within the work experience portion of your CV the evidence that supports your claim. So you said you have good communication skills, for example. If you have a work experience where you can demonstrate how you use those good communication skills to bring about results, that's where this stuff all links together. This stuff is really, really important. What might the thing look like? So here's an example of, here's one in true kind of Blue Peter fashion, one that I prepared earlier. So putting all these components together is the contact information. You're calling out the target role. In this case, it's a business analyst. There's a summary or profile, about 4 lines. The key skills summary. There's professional work experience, so there's a particular format that I would recommend that you use with that, and that format it has been adjusted to get a good hit with applicant tracking software. You include education and professional development, and if you have the space, you include a hobbies and interest section. So that's kind of how your CV should look. You can use, in my opinion, and I suppose CVs are a bit like doctors, that there's as many opinions out there. But what I'm showing you today is based on my own experience and what I know and what has been proven to work for me and the clients that I work with. So, 8 tips for a standout CV. Number 1, your CV must be tailored to the job spec you're applying for. 2, make sure the CV is compatible with applicant tracking software. More and more common these days, lots of bigger companies using them. A clue might be that if you look at the job link and it includes like Taleo or Workspace or Workday, I think, those are 2 of the more common ones. If that's included in the link somewhere for the job you're applying for, there's a very, very good chance that applicant tracking software is being used for the initial screen. Keep the CV to 2 pages. Maximize the key information in the hot zone. And the hot zone of your CV is the first page, probably about the first 2/3. That's why we focus on the profile. That's why we focus on the key skills. That's why we focus on matching the profile to the job spec and highlighting relevant information with accomplishments. Number 5, results is what makes your CV stand out. Can you answer the hiring manager's so what question? So let's say you worked in, trained in, for example, for the last 5 years or whatever, and your roles and responsibilities are Hiring managers reading this and they're thinking, so what? But if you can catalog a number of key accomplishments, that's what makes you stand out. That's what makes it really different. Use an easily readable, easy on the eye font. You want something, right, again, go back, hiring manager, late Friday afternoon, reading CVs. It's got to be something that, they look it up. They look at it, yeah, I want to read that. It's not something they look at and say, oh, geez, I don't like that font. You'd be amazed the reasons that CVs get put in the bin. You don't give the hiring manager any reason to bin you and bin you easily. Write the profile section last. So you put the body of your CV together, the chances are for any role that you're applying for, the body of the CV probably won't change that much. But the profile section, you must get targeted to the job spec that you're applying for. I don't know how many times I've said that. Hopefully you guys are getting the message on it. But you write it last when you're putting your CV together and keep a record of which CV you've sent to which company. So that if you get a phone call, you can pop it open, you can reference the relevant information. Number 8, final one, have someone proofread your CV for errors. What I do when I'm building a CV for somebody is I will put it together. CV takes me, once I have all the background information, somewhere between 4 and 5 hours to write. I'll go away from it, I'll come back to it, and I'll read it. And I'm reading it particularly with a view, I'm looking for grammatical errors, spelling errors, formatting errors. Have someone proofread it or take that time and step away from the CV. Come back to it, read it, make sure you're happy with it before you send it on. First impressions, you don't even get any chance to make a first impression. Hiring manager picks it up, looks and says, look at that. Bam, right? Don't give them any reason to do that. And then just kind of a couple of recent testimonials of setting a professional CV writer with an outplacement firm, and this is just over the last couple of weeks. First guy is a program manager in a multinational redundancy situation. CV looks great. You can read it there for yourself. But this candidate, I got an update yesterday. He's currently interviewing for 4 roles, so his CV is working for him. He's getting called for interview, and he's coming to the final stage. He's on 2 of the 4 roles. So, the CV is work. Second one, thank you very much. Looks amazing. That's from Anna, a lady in another redundancy situation. And the final one I included here, which I thought was interesting, was I got a phone call last week from a lady that I know, and she asked me for help with her CV and for some interview prep. The curious thing about this was this lady was a colleague, somebody I work with in an outplacement firm, another career coach. So she's seen my work. She looked and says, I'm the person that she wants to help her prepare her CV and prepare for the interview. little bit of blowing my own trumpet, of course. Look, that's the opportunity I have here today with you guys. Questions at this point?
We have a couple there, Ted. They come in privately. So one big thing is the gaps on CV. So you always get judged on gaps, no matter what anyone says. I've experienced this, although I explained it. Life is life. If an employer can't see, well, they are not the company for you.
And does this person want to remain private?
Yeah.
Okay. So my thoughts on this is, if you're getting into a discussion and around gaps in the CV with an employer, you've an opportunity at that point. Your CV has worked for you, and you've gotten to interview stage. We can do another webinar circuit on interview techniques and how you might answer those questions. But at least when you're sitting in front of a hiring manager, you have a chance. If you're seeing something in your CV, gaps in a row, and they decided to call you in and have a conversation with you. So at that point, it's the interview prep that's important, and how you might answer that. I would never answer a question with no in the CV. So if somebody asks you, do you have a particular skill, or there's a gap here, I had an old CEO whose mantra was, how do you turn chicken doodle into chicken salad, right? So if there's a negative situation, call it out, but then show how you've used it to your benefit. Do you have a particular skill? Are you skilled in interview techniques? No, but I'm currently taking a course on how to develop that. So you're trying to show proactively, you're defending yourself a little bit, but that's really the best you can do. On the gap thing, I'm happy to talk to that individual if they want to give me a call.
Yeah.
Contact details, we'll add them in later.
Yeah, no bother, and I'll put your email address into the chat there now in a minute. And you can get it. Yeah. Stephen just said, great point on the applicant tracking software. So many people try to make their CVs look fancy. That's something I always used to do. Try and make it look as fancy as possible. And actually, Ted, I know you said to me before that, which I thought was really interesting, about male versus female, seeing a job description, and if females don't tick all the boxes, they don't apply for the jobs. I'm one of them.
There's a lot of research on this right here. So going back to the job spec that we spoke about earlier, the job spec says A, B, C, and D. A male, and there's data guys on this, a male applicant will look at this, female, you only have A and B, and say, actually, so what? Look, I'm going to throw in an application anyway. I only have A and B, there, I don't have C and D. A female applicant, I know this is very general, but the data is showing that female applicants are more reticent to apply for a role if they don't have A, B, C, and D. If they don't fit all the boxes. Female applicants are just as good as male applicants. We know this.
You're missing out on great candidates. Yeah.
Really, don't sell yourself short. Apply for the roles. Put your CV together.
Yeah.
Highlight your accomplishments. Put your application in.
I think that's a really good point. And I actually said it to a couple of my female colleagues since you said that to me, and they were like, oh yeah, I'd never apply for a job where we didn't tick all the boxes. But now, hopefully I'll never have to be in that situation again, but I would definitely now.
How many of us live in an ideal world? How many ideal candidates are out there?
Yeah,
and job specs are written with the ideal candidate would have I've been a hiring manager. I know what I'd love to get when I'm hiring somebody. Sort of, you know what you'd love to get, but those people are very, very few and far between. So the job spec is written with Nirvana in mind.
Yeah.
Apply for it. If you've got A, B, and C, stick in an application. If you have A and B, stick in an application.
Yeah.
The worst that can happen is you don't get called for interview.
Exactly. Another comment there. Would a PDF document suffice to get through the applicant tracking software, as it can be easily read?
The latest information I have is PDF documents are readable by applicant tracking software. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Donald's asked, why are CV architecture plaques arranged that way? on the screen? Donald, do you mean the actual order in which the CV architecture is displayed, or just the visual itself? Because the visual itself is just creativity. The actual structure of the CV, that's I suppose technical, down to you, Ted.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't use the plaques as such. I presume you mean templates that are available on the web. Is that your
Oh
question?
yes, maybe that's Donald. Maybe just clarify: is it's the templates that you're referring to? Maria has just said, how far do you go back with past employers' experience?
Oh, great question. Typically 10 to 15 years. I normally go about the 10 years. Unless that you have relevant experience that's further back in time. So typically what I would do in work experience, I would give detailed information on roles over the last 10 years. And then for anything below that would be like a one-liner, for example, program coordinator, trained in 1958 to 1960. One-liner. And if a hiring manager has an interest in that, they will ask you about it.
Okay.
So about the last 10 to 15 years is what's right.
Okay. Donald said yes, the way they're arranged on the screen. So I presume the way you've organized your template.
Yeah, and to me, the template that I use and the templates that I put together are based on my own experience. This is the Ted's view of the world. It's working for my clients at the moment, but it's all the hot and relevant information, contact information, profile links to the job spec, key skills summary, and then we go to the work experience. But those first three, contact info, target role, profile, and key skills, that will tell the hiring manager at a quick glance, does this person have what I need? And I will put that CV on a pilot where I'll come back and review it in more detail later.
Stephen has just asked, would you recommend candidates following up on their application if they haven't heard anything? That's a good one.
Yes.
Should you hound them?
Pardon?
Should you send them emails once a week or whatnot? Does it show interest, or does it become annoying after a while?
Well, it's like a sales pitch, isn't it, really? But if you've applied and if you haven't heard anything, I think it's reasonable. Again, this is the word, guys. What's the worst that can happen? So you've applied. Give them a reasonable amount of time, maybe a couple of weeks after you put in the application, because put yourself in that position of the hiring manager. This is not your number one priority. So you've gotten the interviews. The way it works is to hire three people, for example, or to hire one person, for example, you might interview three people. To get those three people, you might review 10 CVs in detail. To review those 10 CVs in detail, you might look at 30. It's just a hiring fund. You start off broad and it comes down on the view. That whole process takes a bit of time. And if it's not that hiring manager's primary role, then it's going to take a few weeks to do that. So, if you have direct connection into the hiring manager or the recruitment agency, absolutely after a couple of weeks, ping them. Now, on recruitment agencies, I don't know if there's any recruiters online, but recruiters are not working for the candidates as such. Recruitment agencies are working for the company who has the open role. That's who their customer is. That's who their client is. So you as a candidate are just you were a widget, with all due respect to you, that can be used to fill the role. So the recruitment agency, by and large, and there are some notable exceptions out there. I'm not going to name anybody, but there are those companies will be communicating more with the employer than with the candidate. So it is reasonable to use a chase up with the recruiters.
Yeah, if you're applying for a job direct to an employer, which is local enough to where you are, would you go and hand in the CV, hand deliver it to try and make some personal contact, or would you just email it?
I do both.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah.
I would say, particularly if it's local to you, if you know the hiring manager, and you have their email address, send it directly to them. If you hand something in at reception, the chances are it may not go beyond that.
Okay, right. Yeah. Stephen just followed up his question. Would you follow up by telephone or email? Both.
I would probably do both. I mean, emails can be ignored.
Yeah.
A lot easier. And the format is the high circles to tell you to advertise such a role there recently put in an application. I was just wondering, has there been any progress on the selection on that, or if there's any more information you need from me to help you make a decision? Something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. I know you have an offer there. So the offer is up. So Ted has this course, How to Create a Standout CV, which is really good, and it'll cover all of the details that you've discussed on here and more. And the amazing thing about this is that Ted will actually give you a template that you can use to create your own CV, and there is a critique of your CV once you've completed the course and pushed the work into it. So Ted will actually critique your CV as well, and it's very, very affordable. So you can click on the offers link there and click on the button, and it will bring you straight.
It looks like we've lost Sorka. She's gone again.
Sorry, I keep knocking myself out there. I apologize.
You did. You disappeared in the. Let me alone on stage.
Sorry. I have the link here. Let me just play you this promo video. So hold on now, 1 sec, and we will put this in.
Hi, are you looking for work? Are you looking to change jobs? Are you getting called for interview? Is your CV working for you? My name is Ted Walsh of Enable Me Coaching. I'm a business and career coach. I'm a trained professional CV writer. Take my online course now and I'll help you prepare a CV that stands out from the crowd. I'll provide you with the steps and structures to build your CV. I'll provide you with a proven CV template. Complete it, send it to me and I will review it for you and give you feedback. Take my course now and take that vital first step towards your next job.
Brilliant. Love that, Ted. I think it's great.
A little bit of the dubbing was off, playing it online on my side, but yeah, I think hopefully you get the general view. But the course goes into a lot more detail on each of the sections. It talks about the format as to how you put the CV together. Sorka said you can download a template that I provided with it. Once you've done your CV, send it to me. I'll review it for you and give you areas where I think you can help that would help improve it.
Great. And if anybody has problem getting the link, you can just email myself, or I'm going to pop Ted's email straight into the chat here now. So if anybody wants to contact Ted directly, you can pop him an email, no problem. The replay links, I think, Gillian, was it yourself who asked were the slides available? The whole webinar is available to replay. So you'll get a link in the next couple of hours with a replay link, and you will be able to watch it and pause it and start it and stop it. Again, Donal, and the chat disappeared off my computer there just when I decided to pop out. But Donal had asked Ted just to review that particular slide again. I'm not. Let me just, I think I'm going to go really quickly to it. And Donal, tell me if this was the one that you were looking for. Was it this one, Donal, that you were talking about?
That one. That will be the structure typically and the architecture that I would use and the sequence of which I would use it.
Yeah. I think that that's the one that Donal was referring to. Anyway, Donal, you can, I don't see you in the chat there now, but you can review the replay of this. And if you have any questions, I've popped Ted's email there, or send me an email. And oh, no further back, he said. I think I know the one you're talking about, the one with the hexagons in it. And Ted, I'm conscious of time. I know you have to drop off now in a minute as well. So yes.
I suppose that this is just another way of representing what Sorcha showed a minute ago in that slide. That this will be the sequence: contact info, part of the role, profile, skill summary, professional experience, education and training, and the optional on hobbies and interests.
Great. That is it. Well, has anybody any more questions for Ted? If so, speak now. Ted, I'm going to stop your presentation. Do you have any final comments that you would like to part with?
No, other than look, thanks for the opportunity, Sorcha. This has been brilliant.
Very welcome.
If anybody has any questions, my contact details are there. And look, for anybody who's in a job seeking situation, I wish you all the very best. And let me know.
Absolutely. And anybody who you know who might need Ted's help in the future, or any potential employers who may unfortunately be going through redundancy process, this could be a great way of helping your own teams to find work. So I'm sure Ted would be there as consulting to help employers with that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I that is part of my service as a career coach. I do one-day outplacement workshops. So
fabulous.
Where I would come in and take people. This would be part of it, would be the CV prep, but we would talk about interview prep. We would talk about all that information in the getting to know you piece that we spoke about earlier, value, skills, strengths, etc., etc. So that's a day-long deal, and we can do that.
Great. If anybody wants to contact me, either I'm popping my email into the chat there. But thank you very much, Ted, for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. And there's great comments coming back in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Excellent, great. So we'll leave it there. Everybody have a fantastic day. I hope the sun shines for the weekend, and we will speak to you all very soon. Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks a million, Sorcha. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.